Hi everyone. Okay, today I'll be teaching you guys how to design your next any kind of application. Moreover, I will be talking about .NET application, right? How could you use the powerful facilities given by .NET and apply it to your applications? Because most of the time we use a lot of application, but we don't realize what we are getting it from it. The main thing is like after you realize whatever we are getting from it, then you'd be like you even be more powerful at that. Okay, let's talk about how you would be designing your next .NET application. Okay, this is your port. You'll be requesting your web request from here. Actually, this is your post, right? And you will be getting your web request from this, and you'll be sending out the HTML rendered page with this port. Now, what you can do is like, okay, what I want to do is every time the request comes, right? Okay, this is the page, starting page. It would be kind of like getting it to this page would be kind of like compile after that, right? But what I want to do is I want to create a framework such that I could track every other page so that we could make it reusable, right? And we could have some kind of central command on that page. So I would be like, okay, creating a page called initiating page. That would be like iPage, right? This is like main central command over here. So every time I get a request for a page, it would be generating the request of this page. Let me tell you how this works. This is page 2, this is page 3, this is page 3. Let me tell you how it works. Okay, this page would be inheriting from my iPage, right? And this iPage would be inheriting from page. So every time the kind of like request comes to this page, it has to call it superclass. That's like iPage, and iPage and superclass for the iPage would be page. So every time you would be creating the page, you would call the iPage, and the iPage would kind of like create an instance of the page. So this way you could track all the central command. Let's say if I have some kind of validation procedure for every page, then I would be calling over here. Moreover, these days like people use form authentication, right? And that's kind of like good, but like when you want to go in like a lot of ways to do login, let's say if you want to use asynchronous login, or if you want to use like other type of logins or gateway or something like that, then this technology would be really helpful at all. Okay, what I want, this would be my central command, and later on we'll talk about a lot of other stuff so that we realize how important this layout is. Okay, after that, what I want to do is like, okay, I want to create a data access layer, .exe layer. There's a lot of other objects too, right? Let's say I have a user objects. Okay, wherever in the code, I'll be calling my user objects from this page or this page, and this page, every time I run some kind of query, I'll be calling DAO page. Okay, let me talk to you about some importance of the DAO page, data access layer, or data access object page, right? Actually, this object would act as one single layer for any data operations. Let's say if you're running an insert query, update query, or let's say if you have a user object, okay, I have an add method over here, or update method, or delete method. What I would do is every time I would run some kind of query, I would use this data access layer to run the query, and this data access layer would run the query and return to me a data set. And after that, I would use the data table to return to my object that would kind of like give a data table to the object that was calling it, right? And after this object, I could just load my object or delete my object, or you could do anything from it. Or you can get some kind of bool operation for delete, right? And for update, you could just get some kind of information and update too. and some kind of select statement, right? Select users, some kind of users, right? And what you can do is like you can call this class introduce data table, right? And after that you could load your object with the data table. You don't have to kind of like use SQL data reader. Yeah, the bad thing about SQL reader is like you can't use SQL data reader in this case. You have to use some kind of static that works without the connection, because SQL data reader, it doesn't work without the connection. Now let me talk to you more on that one. Doing this, there's a lot of benefits with doing this and doing this. But this, like the master page model, they recently, they kind of like, not recently, but it's like after 2003, right? Microsoft, after 2005, Microsoft has implemented, right? It really is really powerful with this, because, okay, let's say this is generic page, and it kind of like, it has some master page that gets embedded into it. Now, with this technology, what I can do it on pre-init, I can change the master page of the page. That's the power I get now. Okay. On pre-init, just try it, right? On pre-init, you'll be able to change the master page. With this technology, now you can have like some sets of master pages, right, over here, and some set of like you can kind of like change. Okay. You can see some kind of database configuration, or you can set some kind of database configuration, or like some XML configuration, so that this page would go to this page would go to some like some master page. This page will go to some master page dynamically. Now you have got that power too. Now like till now we get like two kind of powers, right? Implementing this is a headache, but okay, once you have done, there's a lot of benefits from it. Data access object, okay. Let's say in future, right, like we're not happy with SQL Server. Now what we want to do is we want to transport our database to Oracle. Okay. What I could do is just like every time we're implementing some kind of query, there will be just like, okay, I just have to change the connection and change a little bit of layout. Let's say data, like we could provide some kind of implementation, so that every time there might be some kind of data type error, we could just correct it over here in one layer, central layer. That's how we get benefit from the central layer. Now we have this iPage, right? Okay. Okay, now we got this master page power, right? We got this kind of like central command power. We can control logins and every kind of stuff over here, right? What you could even do is like, with this page, what I did was like every time it was creating a page, right? Every time it was creating an instance of iPage, and that was like a little bit heavier, right? So, and I couldn't access that using my control. And so I did was like every time I used to instantiate an object of this type, I used to save it in inside the HTTP context, like view state, right? Because view state corresponds to only one page. So every time you want to use this, you could save it to view state, right? And later on, let's say the other class would other control wanted to access it, they would be doing it like, okay, iPage, it would be a static method that's like get page, right? Okay, I would be creating a static method inside iPage, that would be get page. Okay, so it will check if there is any instance of that page. Okay, if there is no instance of that page, it will check view state, right? And if there is no instance of that page, it used to create new object and send that to the calling object, so that every time it's like 4 or 5 controls, right? And I have to create a new instance of this iPage, and this iPage would be storing a lot of information like ID, which page I'm on, right? You'd be able to maintain some kind of state using this. You'd be like which ID I'm using, right? You could use some kind of cookie jar to implement the IDs and everything. And after that, okay, I would know which page I'm on and what are the other options. Like let's say, because a recent kind of like project, what I did was like I was using a community locations, right? So I had to kind of like get the community ID from the URL, right? So this page would maintain that for me every time, and which master pages I'm using, which I'm so, and it's not a big deal. You don't have to query a lot in this database, right? What you could do is just like query once, right? And after that, use that query to to load all of your objects inside that class. And I think this is over. Let me talk you about more about DAO, right? What's a good thing about DAO? Because